Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to Downright Annoyed with Movies. I am Michael Carls from the Downright Nerdy Podcast, and today we are going to be talking about Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I picked this movie. I'm going to tell you about the synopsis before I start introducing the entire crew today. So let's get into it. While still a boy, Abraham Lincoln loses his mother to a vampire's bite. He vows revenge, but fails in the attempt, narrowly escaping with his life. He is rescued by Henry, played by Dominic Cooper, a charismatic vampire hunter who instructs Abe in the fine arts of dispatching bloodsuckers. I can't wait to talk about this movie, but before we do, let me start talking. Let me introduce you to the rest of the crew, starting with my partner in crime, Jackson. Thanks for coming, buddy.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Well, thank you for coming because this is my channel. Nobody's watching yet, but that's fine. Anyways, I am Jackson. You can find me right here on mainly this show. We should have more stuff coming soon. I keep saying that, but it never happens. Work sucks. But yeah, thank you for joining, and I'm excited to talk about this too. So
awesome, cool. And let's we also have Ryan from the Fake Nerd Podcast.
Hey, Jackson, I agree. Work does suck, but that's why I'm happy to be here to talk about fun movies. Hey, guys, Ryan from the Fake Nerd Podcast. We're a weekly live pop culture show. We go live every Sunday, which is today. We're going to talk about Candyman, but I'll tell you more about that later on in the show. What's up, guys? Let's talk about Abraham Lincoln.
Sounds good. And we also have Cookie from Just a Little Podcast. Cookie, thanks for stopping by.
Absolutely. Hey guys, Cookie, Just a Little Podcast, also a weekly pop culture podcast that circles around everything pop culture. I don't go live doing that, but I do shows every Sunday. I do a lot of shows with other people as well. So yeah,
Sorry.
So we are going to be talking about old Abe Lincoln. Fantastic.
Cool. I'm excited.
Our second documentary.
Yeah, exactly. This is the founding of our nation. So I'm going to turn over hosting duties to my buddy.
yeah, so this is my channel. So apparently I am hosting. We are going to start this week with everybody's expectations. Now, I guess before I even go around, who here had seen this? Okay. All right. So Cookie, you had not seen it.
Oh, no, there you go.
Oh, he was late in raising his hand.
Okay. So everyone's seen this. So I guess, okay, let's do this then. How long has it been since everyone's seen it? Mike, how long?
3 years, maybe?
Ryan?
Since the theaters, but my roommate watched it in the background, but I didn't watch it. So I preferred it.
Cookie?
Since the theaters as well.
Okay. Did everyone like it the first time around?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, then let's do expectations, and we will start with Mike. What were your expectations in round 2 of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
So, like I said, I did like the movie when I first saw it, but coming into this, I was a little worried that it wasn't going to hold up, or as of late, since starting the show, I feel like I've been a little bit more nitpicky with a lot of the movies when reviewing it. So I was afraid that was going to happen with this. I'm happy to say I didn't do it too much. There were definitely a lot more holes in the plot and things like that I had noticed this second time around. But when you're talking about a movie like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, can I really be that nitpicky? I don't know. We'll talk about it later.
All right, Ryan?
Yeah, I still like it. I didn't like it as much as the first time because I've grown as a person. And there's just some stuff in this movie. There are some choices that involve just like it being in around the Civil War and slavery that I think they could have thought a little bit harder on, because when we'll get into it, it's a little problematic. But besides that, it's a really, really like fun movie. Like, and I still liked it. I definitely like Mike pick some stuff apart more this time. But hey man, it still has one of my favorite scenes in a movie, which we'll talk about, which is a bunch of horses.
Ooh. Oh yeah, that's pretty sweet. And Cookie.
Yeah, I don't remember it too much back in the day, but I did enjoy it for what it was for face value. I thought it was a fun, entertaining film. I actually enjoyed the slow-mo and the amount of slow-mo in this movie compared to like Justice League. So it actually did a good job with slow-mo. Just gonna put it out like that.
I was really excited to watch this because I just hooked up my old and here I'll turn the camera so you can see it. In my office, I got the old 3D plasma set up. So this was one of the first 3D Blu-rays I ever bought. So that was the first time I saw this.
Ooh,
and
question.
sure.
Was this came out in 2012? This was the era where 3D movies were very in your face. Was this a movie where that was happening?
Oh yeah. Well, you know what's funny? So this one was post converted. So there's some parts where people look kind of like cardboard cutout-ish, you know.
Yeah.
But there's scenes in this where there's like dust floating, and like they did a really nice job, man. And yes, the action scenes, it's one of those movies where you're like, okay, I wonder if people watching this in 2D realize that like this was clearly made. Like the ball for yes, exactly. There's a lot of that. So my expectations were like I was gonna have fun watching this because I hadn't fired up the old 3D. I mean, I was talking about it with a buddy. It's like the choice of seeing movies in 3D, even in the theater now, has gone. Like it's like almost gone, you know. So expectations were high. I'll talk a little bit more about whether or not it met those. But first, we will let Mike give his kind of spoiler-free review of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for something that's just a kind of a fun adventure, similar to like a Mummy type of movie, doesn't really take itself too seriously. It's not as good as the Mummy, I don't think. But I had a ton of fun watching it. I still would recommend it to people who are fans of vampire genre and, you know, a bunch of CGI fights and American
history. Fans of
American
history.
history.
So you mean to tell me that this is real, though, right?
Supposedly.
This is 100% real.
Oh, I'm telling my kids it was 100% real.
Okay, all right.
All right, Ryan, what's your review? Now, you already mentioned kind of the interesting issue that the movie might have dealing with like slavery and stuff, but outside of that, like, you know, we'll get into that in spoilers, but what's your like review? Would you recommend it? Like that sort of thing.
Can't hear you.
Mike's gone.
Hey,
Turn into Chaplin for a second.
I would recommend it. I don't think it's for everybody. Especially upon second viewing. I think it wouldn't be a problem on your first one, but I do think it's a little slow in parts. It's not a super long movie, but I think for the type of movie it is, I think it takes itself just a little too seriously. Because it's like literally the title is like, you know what you're getting into, but also like half the movie is just a bunch of old people talking in rooms. And I'm like, okay. I would recommend it. I think there is some really, really good vampire stuff in it. I think that's what saves it, because otherwise it's kind of, they could have done more with the human stuff, in my opinion.
All right, Cookie.
I enjoyed it. I think it is definitely an enjoyable film for just standalone action. If you come into it with a mindset that you're not going to see anything that's related to history, then you're golden. If you're going to see action, you're going to see slow-mo. It's something that's definitely enjoyable. If you're looking at it to match up with history, good luck with that, because clearly by the title, you know it's not historical. I do like the fact that they add historic elements in there, with, of course, Abraham Lincoln having a wife. It would have been nice to see him kind of cheat on his wife with the other person he cheats on. That would have been kind of like a nice little take on it, kind of bringing more historical element to it. But overall, it was a good film. I think I would recommend it to people just once, not twice.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I like this movie. I can't help it. There's just something, it's dumb fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I hate the cliche of turn your brain off and just watch it, but this is like a perfect example. We get enough in the beginning to care about a couple of the characters enough to kind of follow them through this. And there's tension, I would say. So that would be my spoiler-free review. Now is the part where last week we spent 45 minutes. So this week we will cut it down, but scene by scene discussion. So I guess I will take this kind of scene by scene approach here. And I'm going to break this up into three main acts, as any movie should be broken up into. I'm going to say Act 1 is Child Lincoln going, basically his mother gets killed by a vampire. He grows up, having seen this vampire kill his mom. He grows up and he gets found by the kind of Dr. Loomis type character who knows the history of the vampires and
Henry
trains him up.
Sturgis.
Yes, there you go. Henry meets him, trains him. I would say that is like the Act 1. He goes out and kills a bunch of vampires. So that's kind of the build up and setup for your movie. By the end of the first act, I would say he is a full-fledged vampire hunter. Is that fair to say, or am I missing an act here?
I would say it's
no,
close,
I think that's fine for the first.
Okay. Yeah, so act 2, I would say, would be when we fast forward a bit and we go into him as the president. And then I would say that's when the movie kind of gets bogged down a little bit, even though I thought that stuff was interesting because it's like, oh, this is kind of neat. They're like working in the White House back in the day. There's like decent production value. Things are kind of cool. It's kind of neat how he's like in the Oval Office, but really he's fighting the Civil War over vampires, which is interesting. And then I would say act 3 is after his son gets killed and we're going to go do something about this.
He's going to finally try to get that dude who's behind killing
Adam.
Right. Yeah. So so the other thing about this too is that, we've got a few different actors in here that you run into. Rufus Sewell, who's always like a good bad guy. I think we last talked
Man
about
in High
him.
Castle. I love him.
Yeah. And we
Dark
last
City.
talked about him in Dark City. Right. He was the main character in Dark City. He's a good actor and he plays these like detestable villains really well, I would say. A Knight's Tale, Man in the High Castle, that sort of thing. Anthony Mackie is in this as a supporting character. Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
And a young Liam Neeson.
Yeah. Young Liam. You know who the main guy reminds me of?
Abraham Lincoln?
No, he reminds me of the dude who played, and I can't remember his name. It's gonna piss me off. But the guy who played the Viper in Game of Thrones.
Pedro Pascal.
Yes.
There's one shot.
He looks like Pedro Pascal. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, look, it's Mando.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Mandalorian. Duh. Right. There you go. But yeah, so I guess that's kind of the plot. Now, as far as thematically, the theme is that you should free people and defeat evil, I would say. Let's
talk about that because Ryan, you talked about how it didn't have as great a connection human wise, right?
Yeah.
As we would thought, and I completely agree with you. I think if they wanted to take this movie a little bit more seriously, add an extra 15-20 minutes to the movie, I think they really could have hit home more. They like really hit home the slavery angle, the relationship between the slaves in the South and the slaves in the North, and how pretty much the vampires don't just see them as cattle, but they see everybody as potential slaves, right? And that's something that I feel like if they were to do that, it wouldn't be that just turn your brain off type of cliche type of movie, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It would be a little bit more. They would have more substance, and it's like a two-headed snake, like it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. Is that kind of what you were going to say too?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that is the problem when you have a movie that's based around slavery.
Yeah.
My big problem with the movie is this is a real event, right? Slavery really happened. White people really enslaved black people, and there was a war fought over it, right? This movie takes away all the blame away from white people and puts it all on vampires. So the Civil War was not a white person problem. It was a vampire problem. That's why the Civil War happened. And if you were going to show that tons of evil regular humans were also involved with the vampires, then I'd be more inclined to give it a pass. But they don't.
They do give like what's his name? Adam, the dude from the actor we were just talking about that's in everything.
Rufus.
Rufus. He did have like that one little like quick bit that just did not do anything justice, where he gives that whole thing like, I'm 6,000 years old, I've seen whatever, all this stuff, and like I've even seen slave masters in Africa selling them off to it's like, but that's just, that just doesn't, so there's so much injustice in this, and just putting that one thing in there, you know what I mean?
I think that's a decent point though, Ryan. It's like because I'm watching it and I'm just like assuming that what's happening is what you're saying, right? Like everyone's not a vampire in the South. Every slave owner,
final battle,
right?
They're all vampires.
It looks like they're all vampires, right?
Yeah, that's stupid.
That's what bothers me, because you can't have a movie that's supposed to be over the top fun, it's just a silly vampire movie, and also be about the radicalization.
I also see that they made the metaphor of all the slave owners from the that were fighting for the South are so terrible. They're just as bad as these nasty vampire kind of things. I mean, I guess that's probably their way.
You can get there. I assume
it's not on the screen enough.
Yes, that's exactly right, Ryan. Yeah.
To Ryan's point, yeah, I think that could have been handled a little bit better. And it's interesting that it wasn't, because you would think that more people would have had a problem with it.
I almost think it. I don't think it could have. I think it should have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't have a problem with the movie itself, because it's based off a book, and I'm sure the book goes into more of these details. It's based off like a silly book, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, like Pride and Prejudice with zombies.
Sure,
same guy. I don't have a problem with them tackling the subject. Just like, if you're gonna do it, either ignore the serious problems that it raises, or go full into it, because they ride the line of being a vampire movie and a political movie, and at times it doesn't serve either, because it's two different stories just merged together.
There is a great, a really fun show that I actually personally like. It was a made-for-TV movie, but it was called Sleepy Hollow. Did any of you guys watch that show?
No.
Yes. Yeah. It's essentially the same thing. It's based on the Headless Horseman and Ichabod Crane coming back into the future from the Revolutionary War. And they take a lot of history. They pull a lot, like everything, like every episode is essentially like a little piece of history, similar to like an Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, but they take a little bit of history and they incorporate it in, and there's all this magic and things that, like, oh, actually this is the reason why this is because of this magic spell kind of thing. But they do dance around that, a lot of these issues that are in this movie, but as a TV show, I think that it allows you a lot more time to spend I guess exploring these issues and defining what makes it makes it.
I mean, if I'm looking at making this, I would find a way to just make it so like the vampires are using the slave owners as like puppets to like, it doesn't seem that hard. Like, maybe that's what was happening.
I don't know, but I don't do that, because then it takes the blame away from them. I don't know.
No, because they're fucking assholes anyway. So they like want to work with the vampires.
You
know what I mean? Like that. So that's where I would go, right?
There wasn't enough actual human evil in this movie, because it's during a time where this was actually happening. Again, this isn't like a false thing. This is,
yes, right.
It's hard to get away from the facts that, like, oh, this actually happened. But besides that is my one real problem with the movie. I still think it's a lot of fun. Like, let's can I get to the horses?
Yeah, well, hold on. I want to get Cookie's opinion on this whole topic of conversation here. Cookie, does it bother you at all that the thematic element of the movie is basically like, oh, let's blame the vampires? Basically, the South are vampires.
Yeah, not at all. Honestly, because I'm going to this movie knowing that it's not historical. So if I was to go and put a historical value onto it, absolutely. But the fact that for me, it wasn't the focal point of the film. It was about
if this was on PBS and it didn't have Vampire Hunter in the title, like, 100%. This is fucked up.
Yeah.
This is Steven Spielberg's Lincoln. Yeah.
I do think that, like you guys said, they could have incorporated a lot of elements to go, if they wanted to go that route and make it more historical. They could have had at the beginning where he's a young kid and his best friend is a freed slave or freed black kid. And then you have other people who are slaves and they're being sold off right in front of him. And his dad saying like, hey, don't go over, that's not your problem, that's not your business. And his best friend comes running up and says, no, those are my friends. Like, I'm going to go and try to save them. And then he jumps in to try to save them. Then you're having that element combined into it. And you're now seeing it from the get-go that, hey, there's slaves going on and there's vampires going on. And you know that separation is there from the get-go. And then that's where you can build into the world.
You know what other problem this whole thing brings into the world of this movie too, is that like the Gettysburg Address he gives and stuff, like clearly he's acting like people don't know about vampires, but in the movie there are so many vampires.
It would be impossible not to know.
Right. So how does no one know?
There are a ton of plot holes in this.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
And again, Cookie is right. Like this is a movie where it's like, don't think about it too much, but it is a problem for me because I live in the 21st century and politics are always on my brain. So like if I watch this, I'm just like, oh, so the white people aren't so bad then, I guess. And I'm like, that's not a movie that I want to live with, because you should be responsible for your actions.
I mean, don't say the white people. There were plenty of white people that were up north. I mean, Abe Lincoln's a white dude, right?
No, Jackson, yes, but also let's not do this. There's an entire war fought of white people.
Oh, I understand. I'm just saying, No,
I know.
But yeah, so what were you gonna say, Mike?
I think it was already said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we've got, I'm just looking at the list of what we have in here. I think the effects are pretty good. And this is a good opportunity for Ryan to talk about the horses.
Horsies.
Oh my God. So it's a scene that comes out of nowhere, but like he finally gets to go kill the vampire that he needs to kill, the one who killed his mom, Jack Burtz or whatever, right? And then so he starts chasing them, and then just like a bunch of horses appear out of nowhere, and they're all like on a field, and I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. But then like he starts doing horse kung fu, and he starts grabbing horses and throwing horses, and he's just like running on top of them. And I'm like, man, I want the whole movie to be this. This is awesome. Get out of the White House, get onto the field with the horses. This is just so much fun and kinetic, and like the action in this movie is so good. I think the action rules. I think the scene that shows that Abe Lincoln has like an initial superpower. Like if you just believe in your truth,
that was so fucking lazy though. Oh my God! Like
it
when he's like
because the vampire guy has super strength at the beginning. So you just think that guy isn't a vampire. You don't think Henry's a vampire. You just think he has the truth. But no, he's also just a vampire. That's truth. Another reveal.
This whole movie's just like about Abe Lincoln becoming a Sith. Just dig into your inner hate and just, you'll be able to do it. You'll be able to chop a tree down in one swing.
It's very anime. So
yes, it is. It is very anime.
So I can't hate it. I just think the consistency of like, why would you show us that? It's just to disprove why Henry is super strong, and I'm like, that's just complicated for no reason.
I freaking love it. He's like, what kind of gun do you want? Like, oh, I'm better with an axe, and then there's one right there.
Yes, I actually think too the movie deserves a lot of credit for how cool that scene looks and the train at the end. It's the same deal. There's like a hovering fog that I'm sure was used to cover up some of the poor CGI, but it's very aesthetically pleasing. I think it looks great.
That final action scene on the train is astounding. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, the when they light the tracks on fire and the trains go, I mean, it's a really well done.
The villain's like kicking the trains, and like the train keeps falling. It's really cool.
I can't remember the name of the dude, but he worked on Daredevil, the TV show, and worked on Punisher, like all those Marvel Netflix shows. He was one of the guys that worked on this movie, and I mean, you can kind of see like the short hallway fight scenes. You can see how Netflix took a lot of you kind of see like early renditions here in this movie.
Yeah,
really cool. There's something to be said, I think, to just like short hand-to-hand type of combat kind of things, as opposed to like the giant, Avenger style kind of action.
I think for a movie that was under $100 million to make, and it was made back 10 years ago, it looks pretty damn flawless. I mean, there's never a part where I was like looking at it thinking that it looked like crap. You know what I mean?
It's in the 1800s, and everything like is historically accurate. Like they definitely they use their budget very well. Like there was never a scene I'm like, that looks like it's from today. Like no, it's like all the sets were good. Like the CGI looked good. I love the vampire effects. I love their black.
A lot of this was filmed in front of a green screen. I couldn't really tell. I mean, there's a lot that I couldn't tell.
So have you guys seen any of this director Timur Bekmambetov's other movies? Wanted?
No.
You haven't seen
Wanted is the Curve the Bullet.
Yeah.
One.
Yes, I have seen it.
And then he's a Russian director. He directed two really, really cool sci-fi Russian movies called Day Watch and Night Watch. And
I saw those.
Yeah, those will put him on the map. Those are about like really cool like spies in Russia. And they like drive on the sides of buildings, and like they got like
now
those are cool.
Not to derail the show, but was there supposed to be a third one of those that never came? Because I remember watching those and being like, man,
I think so.
Yeah. So
Those
that's a good recommendation.
He came to Hollywood. Yeah, he skipped it.
Yeah, no, you mentioned the action. I think the action is really good. And like I said, I mean, I was invested in what happened, at least to Abe and Henry, I suppose, and his friend too, Anthony Mackie. I mean, I was totally in, the whole train sequence from the time when they're just there and you don't know it's a trap. There's a nice little twist. I think it's pretty great, I would say. But yeah.
Did you guys think it was short though, in this essence of the main villain being killed in a split second? Like I understand the truth will set you free and you have all this abundant power within one fist punch, but it's like, man, I was hoping for so much more. It was
kind of anticlimactic. But like it also is like kind of cool. Like that, like he has silver and like he does like this is, like I'm indifferent on it. Like, yeah.
It's a little bit of Batman Begins, Liam Neeson deathish. which was great, I would say.
Yeah.
I liked it when the lady died, when she used the son's little toy sword as a way to kind of kill you. That was fantastic. And it reminded me very much of Wanted, where you had the bullet go through, can't remember his name now, Morgan Freeman, and it goes through the back of his head and it shoots out, comes right back through. I thought that was epic. Really, really good on that part.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that. Thanks for the spoiler.
Man, sorry for a 15-year-old movie, Mike.
No, I'm just kidding. I've seen it.
You can curve bullets, man.
I think the guy who played Lincoln, like, I don't think he's like a big actor, but I think he did really well, and he didn't just play like a Lincoln like.
He did really well at playing Liam Neeson. Yeah.
Oh, he's has Liam Neeson been Abraham Lincoln?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I like the fact that they don't go too far with him trying to like walk and talk. Like, I mean, maybe they did. I've never seen footage of Abe Lincoln. So
you've seen the movie Lincoln.
Yes, right. So they did have the stupid hat thing, which was kind of a groaner. I don't know. Like, I don't need to know
were a
how
couple detestable.
The final.
I don't need to know how Lincoln started wearing his top hat. I really don't. Like, that doesn't add anything to the
I was kind of wishing that he would pull what's the bodyguard's name from Goldfinger, where he
throws his hat.
Yeah, he throws a hat and it cuts off people's heads.
Random task, not to be confused with Odd Job. That is random task. Yeah,
that's funny. Let's see.
I had a question for you guys. I know that you guys thought the pacing was a little slow midsection when he became president. Do you think if they made a montage of him at the beginning of him training to become the hunter, and then you have him become the president, if they actually decreased the middle part of him being the president and incorporated both into one, so that montage was him going through him being young and then going him into being president and keeping that presidency. And he's like, man, I don't have time to be a president and a hunter, so I need to get rid of one.
So, Cookie, that's a good point, because I do think the middle section. So we do, unfortunately, we have to have the part where he meets Speed, and he works at the store, and he meets Mary. So we need that stuff in the plot. But I do agree that we could probably cut that and just fast forward to the presidency and work that in a little better. Because there's definitely some stuff that's just unnecessary in the movie.
I was missing the campaign. I want to know how he became the president. He meets that guy after he does the speech in like the streets or whatever.
Who's like senator or whatever.
And then it's just like, hey.
And then he does that speech, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, he's the president now. Yeah. Like, oh, I guess he just decided to be the president.
And then going back to like how no one knows there's vampires. He's supposed to be Honest Abe. He's supposed to be saying this like in his his freaking.
He does it? He says it to the girl. He tells her up honest.
He tells her.
But then later, when the son dies, she's like, I read your diary. I can't believe you never told me.
So that's another thing. I'm glad you brought up the Honest Abe thing, because that's another thing where like I would have gone a little farther with the idea that like, oh, he's known as Honest Abe, but he had this secret that he had to keep his entire life. Like, that would have been interesting to me. And they do touch on it a couple times, but
but the thing is, like, if there's so many vampires, it shouldn't be a secret. It should be.
Well, that's back to the problem of like, we really only need like a small group of vampires who are like the puppet masters. Because Ryan's right. Like, if the Civil War was just a battle with fucking vampires, then that completely brushes over like the sad history of America and any slavery.
It's
right?
Not just a couple vampires in the South trying to like
entire battalion of them.
It's straight up an entire battalion. I'm like, wow, that's a lot.
And it's like it goes further back, because that scene you mentioned, that scene you mentioned, like, Mike, where he's talking about like, I was in Egypt when the Jews built the pyramids and blah 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 blah. It's like, okay, so were they all?
And then like they took over all the American Indians, and like, what?
So Jackson,
every single section of slavery in human history was
all vampires.
Vampires. So that's stupid.
It's just a little. It's just because we live in the real world. It's just a little irresponsible. That's to me.
A lot of irresponsible.
Just to me, like, I know it's not real.
How would you feel if they showed the ending of Abraham Lincoln actually dying, and it's a vampire who kills him? Like, he grabs
I thought they were gonna do that.
and actually shoot him. And then the vampire just like smiles and winks, and you see the fangs, and it's like that would have been a great conclusion.
I
because
100% thought he was grabbing his hat at the end to go. I gotta go see a play with Mary.
That was
I think
it.
it would have been
That
even
was
better
it.
if he got bit, and then it fast forward to today, and it's Liam Neeson, and he's an actual vampire.
So hold on. So if that happened, then we would have to assume not only is slavery all caused by vampires, but all crime, all
It's
murder,
also vampires.
Everything is vampires. Yeah.
So humans are actually pretty good.
Hell yeah.
You know?
We love
Yeah.
a responsible society. I love it.
Yes, but no. Let's see here. What else do we have to
I
talk
stepped
about?
on an
I
innocent
think.
butterfly today. I'm not even a good person. I'm a vampire,
You're a
apparently.
vampire.
Butterfly
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah. So I guess it is time.
One question.
Sorry. Go ahead, Cookie.
the fact that they brushed over how vampires magically have the ability to go in sunlight. For me, that was just like, why did you brush over that? They could have really dived into that. And then the sunglasses, you have all these Confederate guys are running around with sunglasses on. It's like, really?
Hold on. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they're all in sunlight. Yeah.
They're
So
all
if
in
they,
sunlight.
that's one of those situations where if they would have just gave me one line of like, oh, that's just a myth, then I'd be happy. But they don't.
This is a
So
stupid
just
question.
like we have to just like assume like
No,
Were
whatever.
there sunglasses back then? I don't even know.
I
Yeah,
would assume
sunglasses,
so, but
yeah.
it's like, why is
Like,
everybody?
they look like
got
they're wearing like
sunglasses
Ray
on?
Bans, to be honest.
And they got
It
like
is-
side
There's a
things
side
too.
ribbon, yeah.
It
That
is kind
style.
of ridiculous. Like I visited Gettysburg once and did like the tour and stuff, and it's like this amazing place where it's like you just like feel it, you know what I mean? But now you're watching this fucking movie and it's just
What about vampires?
Yeah, it's
Everything's
so
vampires.
stupid.
Abe Lincoln chopped the vampire's head off right over there.
Yeah, you guys are making me dislike this movie a little
Listen,
more
it's
now.
still fun.
right?
It's still
Oh.
fun. It's just like you needed to tone it back if this is the type of movie. Snakes on a Plane. That's
Yes.
a movie that doesn't try too hard. That's exactly what that movie is. Like this movie just went a little too.
This is
let's be
essentially Snakes on a
politically
Plane, but
real.
just based on a person in history.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you do need to take care of other things that had happened, obviously, during that time.
So
Yeah.
this would be like
Spend a
if
little time.
so this would be like if Snakes on a Plane was like a 9/11 movie and the snakes busted out of the boxes and
Oh my
caused
God.
the
Yeah,
plane
that's
to go
what it is,
into the
right?
towers.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
God,
What
could you
20
imagine?
years.
I mean, like, imagine the backlash at
Oh,
this.
my Lord.
Like it'd be completely ridiculous.
Yeah,
right?
so-
that's why we are harping on why that issue, because it is just as serious, right? If
Yeah.
not, obviously more. But
More, right. Yeah,
Um,
no, it's
you
like
know-
in 300 years, will they be able to, or I guess shit,
Like,
200
no,
years, will they be
in
able to
200
make
years,
a
are we going to
Snakes
be
on-
able to make Snakes on a
Right.
Plane 9/11 style?
Yes.
Like, is that
Oh
really
my
going to be able
God.
to happen?
I don't know. Apparently so.
YouTubers exist,
Apparently
probably.
so. But anyway, so that's now is the fun part of the show. Devil's Advocate game.
Oh, that's right. Let me
I'm
get my
hoping
thing.
Mike has a wheel.
I do. Let me share it. So, Cookie, you weren't here last time. Jackson, you want to just give him
Yeah, so essentially in this section of the show, a wheel will be spun with the names of the people here. The first person drawn will have
Only four
to
of
make
us.
an argument for this being the greatest film ever made, and the other person will have to make an argument for it being the worst film ever
And
made.
you know what? We gave them each a minute. Let's do 30 seconds. It's just a
Yeah,
little bit-
30 seconds is good. Yeah,
I
yeah.
a
really
little bit
hope
better.
I
a little
I
bit
don't
better.
know if I can draw 30 seconds out of either of these.
Yes, you
But,
can. You're
um,
gonna have to, because you whoever is chosen to do this, they have to convince the other two.
You have to.
Yeah, you have to.
Do you
Let me-
guys
where's my,
actually choose? Like after everything's said and done, whoever didn't get picked, would you go and say, I agree with so, or I don't agree with so?
I mean, there's a winner of sorts.
Okay.
Definitely
Yeah.
was Ryan last week.
Yeah, I mean, Ken was just he
Killed
was
it, to be
struggle
honest.
bus. The struggle bus was real. All right, so this is the case for being a great movie.
No. Stay there. Stay there. Stay
All right,
there.
cool. Mike, me. Cool. All right, close. Well, I guess I should have just removed.
I think you should leave your name on and have to do both if you get drawn twice.
Oh,
Just
shit.
put glasses on. Ookie.
All right.
Skip me this week. I'm feeling positive.
All
Yeah,
right,
Cookie.
You have to make it the best, the worst movie.
All right, so
All
Mike, we will start with you. Why is Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter the best movie you've ever seen? Go.
Okay, guys, this is all about vampires. Abraham Lincoln has a freaking axe. He goes around, he chops off people's heads, vampires' heads. These vampires are disgusting. He's got the dude from oh gosh, the Man in Hightower, Obergrubenführer, what's his face? He's great. He's one of my favorite characters of all actually of all time. It's a very well made show. And this movie's got a ton of action. It's got a ton of horses. Ryan, you should totally vote for me because I'm talking about how awesome these.
You're done.
I said horses. That should be good enough.
You said horses.
That was terrible, Mike. Cookie. Why is Abraham Lincoln?
Oh, it's me.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Start that over. You're trying to cheat now, Mike. That's
Sorry,
not right.
I didn't. My internet cut out. I don't know why. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. So now it's your turn to tell us why Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter is the worst movie you've ever seen in your life. 30 seconds. Go.
Set, go.
Out of every single president out there, you mean to tell me Honest Abe is the one that you're going to pick? Stupid top hat Honest Abe, who has no mustache. I literally don't have a mustache, and that president could have grown a mustache easily. On top of the fact that the vampires really, really suck. No pun intended, but they really do suck. They just weak sauce. They have no skill. You mean you tell me that you have all the speed and you can't even dodge a bullet, much less a little axe? A stupid little unsharpened axe. I could have stabbed you with a spoon and did a better job. Come on now. Garbage. Absolute garbage.
Okay. All right. Do you have, real quick, Mike, do you have a rebuttal to any of that? I mean, can you deny that he could have had a mustache?
No, absolutely not. He doesn't need a mustache because he's an iconic character, and that's who he is, right? And you put a mustache in there, and then who is he? He's you.
You take away the man.
He's not a Mike. Points against. He's not a character. He's one of the greatest, most beloved presidents
in this show. He's
in history. Cookie. Final thoughts.
I didn't get to hear Mike's stuff, so I have no idea what he said.
I said that he needs to not have the stash. It's part of who he is.
That's
okay. That's your comeback. I would say, yeah, absolute garbage. That's no.
All right. So there's only one in the chat. So if you'd like to tell us who won, you get to decide who won.
Captain Comics, come on, bro.
I'm voting for Cookie on this.
I said horses, Ryan. I said horses.
Yeah, but you didn't explain why the horses.
I know because I ran out of
horses.
time. I ran out of time. Horses are sweet.
Cookie did make a pun about vampires sucking.
Oh,
I gotta give it to Cookie.
I got. That was
Cookie.
clever. I liked it. Good job, Cookie.
Cookie. Okay, so so that's that part of the show. And where are we at now? Are we at final grades? We'll start with Mike on final grade.
I am going to give this a solid B movie.
Okay. Ryan?
I'm gonna give it a C plus. I think it's worth a watch once.
Cookie?
I'm gonna give it as B as well. And my Surf Ninja brother out there agrees with me. He chose me.
Oh, look, see?
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, see,
Nice.
home.
Oh,
Nice
home.
of you to show up. Yeah,
You
home for
son
the
of a-
Now, I'm gonna give this one a C plus, and I'm gonna say I probably would have given it a B minus before this conversation, but the stupidity of the whole slave ownership from vampires, and everyone's a vampire. Basically, if you lived below the Mason-Dixon line, you're a fucking vampire. So
Yeah.
that is stupid.
You think okay, for real, they don't have the sunlight problem. They don't need to do all this like behind the scenes stuff. They could just take over the world if they're this powerful. Like, give me a break. Come on.
You're right. They would be half the
Well, especially since
population.
they've had 6,000 years to build up an army.
doing?
Like,
What are
to
they
be
doing?
honest with you, if this was weird, if this was a real vampire movie, everyone should be vampires, and there should only be 1% are actual humans.
Like if you want to double down on the vampires, just actually make the South all vampires and just make that the plot. Then
Didn't
I'd
they
be
already
okay
do that,
because
though?
that's not really because
28, was it 28 weeks or wasn't that all vampires?
That's zombies.
Zombies.
That's
But
zombies.
Okay.
what is the what were the meetings like when they were negotiating a truce for the war? Why wouldn't the vampires have just eaten all the fucking
Yeah, right.
northerners
Exactly.
at the meeting?
Well,
Yeah,
shocking they
doesn't
didn't
make
show
sense.
any of these meetings in
No,
the
there are
movie.
no meetings in the movie.
I
But
think
anyway,
vampires just suck.
yeah,
just
that's
awful. They're
good.
awful.
Yeah, they do. They're terrible.
Yeah.
They're fucking terrible. Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, let's go.
Well,
decide-
Paul, I just wanted to say, Paul gave this movie a B minus with his wife. Ken gave it an A minus.
of course.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful.
So let's go to the next wheel for next week. We don't have a genre wheel. Are we just skipping the genres this month?
I know I got the genre right here.
Oh, okay.
Actually.
Got it.
Yeah. So let's do the genre, and then we'll do who gets to pick next week.
Before we go, Daybreakers. That was the movie I was thinking of. Sorry.
Yep.
Got it.
And that was the one Ryan mentioned. Right. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Cool. All right.
Or wait, no, Daywatch was the one Ryan mentioned.
Daywatch.
Yeah.
Similar names. Ooh.
Paranormal.
Okay. All right.
That's
Okay.
not
Okay,
my
cool.
thoughts at all.
All right. So this is Cookie's favorite one, right?
Grave Encounters.
Paranormal.
I'm picking one just for home, since I'm hoping he's still the one that's in here. He loves this movie to death. I'm gonna pick A Ghost Story.
Ooh.
That's a good one. Let's see. Paranormal.
Wrong Turn.
That's
paranormal?
That's not
No.
paranormal. That's just
According
murderous
to Hughes.
cannibals.
Oh, okay.
That's
All right.
murderous cannibals.
Yeah, that's incestual mutation cannibal movie.
Would you guys consider As Above, So Below paranormal?
I've never seen it.
Is it got a ghost?
I'm gonna do
is
that
a
then.
ghost in
As
it?
Above, So Below.
Are there ghosts?
That's paranormal.
Yeah, it's like ghost devil kind of stuff.
Okay.
Doctor Sleep. Would that be paranormal?
Yeah,
Right?
There's
Oh,
ghosts. There's
I'll add it.
ghosts. Yeah, there's ghosts, I suppose.
It's a spooky premise.
and
The
hey,
Shining
home. If you
stuff.
I'll
are
change
the
that.
one in here, you can throw out some movies too for paranormal.
I'll change it up.
Don't say that. He's gonna throw just utter garbage in here, I'm sure, just to be.
Well, then I'll make him
Poultry
be a
guys.
guest host. Then
I'm changing.
No,
it,
yeah,
man.
no, you can throw stuff in home if you're still in.
Can
here.
Can I put in Ghostbusters?
Sure.
Okay,
Did we not watch
Ghostbusters
that
it
already?
is. Did we?
No,
I don't think so.
you mean the 2016 classic with Melissa McCarthy?
God awful no.
oh gosh, what's your name, Jackson?
Bing, bing, bing.
Mike, what's your paranormal pick? Out of curiosity.
Oh, As Above, So Below. Sorry.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how. Alex.
Let's see who chooses for next week now.
Oh,
Of course, it's not going to be me because there's
Mike,
no.
Mike,
way
Mike.
in hell.
3 in a row is this?
3 in a row.
it's a turkey. Well, it helps when two people.
Well,
are-
actually, technically it'd be 4 because last week was Last Action Hero. That was the genre wheel, which I did pick.
Hot dog.
So, we talked about this before the show, so I'm going to put this in here. It's another documentary. It's going to be Andre the Giant, the documentary on Andre the Giant.
Okay.
So make sure you guys check
What's
that
it-
out next
what's
week on my
What's it
channel.
called? What's it got a real title?
Yeah, let's see actually here.
Yeah, I'm gonna look that up. Hold on.
The amount of movies that I have stacked up to pick at this point is fucking ridiculous. I never get to pick anymore. I've lost.
It's just
I've
called
lost
Andre
the
the Giant.
will.
Gotcha.
I've lost the will to live.
There's
It's on
always next
HBO
week.
Max. So
There's always next week.
There's always yes, that's
there's
true.
always-
Ryan,
Dude,
thank you
Jackson,
for that
the last movie
positivity.
that you
Yes.
chose, Jackson, was back. Oh, that was back in April. The Hunt, which has become one of my favorite movies of all time. It was a great
That's a
movie.
good
It
one.
So
put
we're,
Matt Mickelson over the top for me.
we're going on 5 months since I picked a movie.
I think I'm right there with you though.
Cookie. Yeah,
Well, Cookie, you've also been
you
missing,
picked the
though.
next movie right after that, and you picked Running Scared.
Yeah.
And Ryan, you were pretty close. You about
did
just 4
Swingers.
weeks, 4 times. You had Swingers.
Swingers. Good
Yeah.
good choice. I like that. I'm glad
That
you
was a
picked
good one. You know what movie we watched last night that Riley had never seen was Weekend at Bernie's.
Oh,
Ah,
gosh.
So
Yeah,
good.
she loved it. It was
Yeah.
great.
That's a
All right.
classic.
It's fun watching people watch it for the first time.
So next week, be sure to tune in as we watch the Andre the Giant documentary. Did we know the name of it?
Andre the
Yep,
Giant.
Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant. So we'll watch Andre the Giant. Be sure to check that out over on Mike's channel. And Mike, where can we find your channel?
You can find me down in the description below. Should have all the links down there. Make sure you guys sub up everybody else. Ryan and the fake nerds. I know you guys are gonna talk already, but you guys have an awesome show. They reviewed Free Guy recently, which I absolutely loved. I thought it was a great movie. Cookie, he does his Silver Age Sundays, which I'm sorry I missed this morning, but he does great shows as well. Talks about comic books, and he has his normal weekly show. Sub everybody up. But next week, Andre the Giant over on my channel. And yeah, that's it.
All right, so we don't need them to say goodbye now since you just did their whole job.
I just love them so much. I just like to talk them up.
But no, of course, Ryan. Say where can we find your weekly pop culture podcast where you go live every week? Where can we find that?
For
Jackson,
6 hours.
Let me tell you. Well, no, this episode would have been like 5 hours long. So we recorded an episode for Gamescom, which is like a video game E3 early. So this episode would only be 3 hours. So you can find us having really long podcasts at the Fake Nerd Podcast on YouTube. We're also on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, like all the podcast stores. But we do go live on YouTube on Sundays. We are reviewing Candyman tonight. I'm not going to say his name 4 more times because I'm looking in a mirror, and that's spooky.
All right. And Cookie.
Hi, Cookie, just a little podcast. iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Good Pods, Podchaser, anywhere you listen to podcasts, I am there. Like Mike said, weekly pop culture podcast. Also do YouTube as well, so check that out. Silver Age Sunday just happened early this morning. So much fun because I had a good guy named Stay Puff 1983.
Did he sing?
He did sing, and then I had Al, Dusty Brick Brown, he also sang as well. He sang the theme song to The Love Boat. So it was
The Love Boat.
A lot of fun. Hopefully coming up in the near future, we're going to be doing another Silver Age Sunday where we're actually doing food because we like to go and do it every once in a while. We have a food challenge. So if you play your cards right, it might happen.
Hey, I'll go to In-N-Out and grab a 10x10 and do it all over again, player.
No,
dude, that was so disgusting.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Real quick too. Speaking of these guys here, me and Cookie, we've been doing a weekly Fake Nerd Watch with Brandon, one of the hosts of Fake Nerds. We've been going through every episode as it comes out of Star Trek Lower Decks because we're all Trek fans and love everything about Star Trek. So make sure you check that out.
Sweet. Star Wars for life. Have a good week, everybody.
I love Star Wars too.
Lightsabers.